When considering this case study from the perspective of the political lens, the crux of the issue is that power is too concentrated within the hands of partisans, the department members, and the authority, Jacqueline, has not engaged in any strategies or tactics to disperse this power and harness conflict effectively. Jacqueline's aim is to help the Social Studies Department become a cohesive unit. Ultimately, she would like to transform the Social Studies Department into an effective coalition. As with any coalition, each individual within the Social Studies Department has very specific interests and concerns. Take, for example, the department member with the struggling dry cleaning business. His interests in terms of what happens and what is required of him as a teacher will vary greatly from the teacher who is a former administrator. All these stakeholders will make, quote, demands on resources and bargain to get what they care about, end quote, Bowman and Deal, 2013, page 193. However, Jacqueline's ability to guide the department and develop an effectively run coalition will depend, quote, on how much power she mobilizes in comparison with other members of the coalition, end quote, Bowman and Deal, 2013, page 193. Ultimately, the goals and the decisions of the department must emerge from bargaining, negotiation, and jockeying for position among competing stakeholders. Thus, it is important to understand the power dynamics at play within the Social Studies Department. When examining the situation, what is evident is the stratification between authority and partisans within the department. After being promoted as the Social Studies Department head, Jacqueline is given what amounts to positional power, or as Northhouse 2016 suggests, legitimate power. This places her in the position of an authority, making her fellow department members partisans. When examining power held by the partisans within the department, there is an imbalance between the power of authority and that of partisans. It is important to note that as Bowman and Deal 2013 state, quote, partisans' multiple sources of power are always a constraint on authority's capacity to make binding decisions. Office holders who rely solely on position power generate resistance and get outflanked, outmaneuvered, or overrun by others more versatile in exercising other forms of power, end quote, page 199. The first form of partisan power evident in the department is that of informational and expertise power. According to Bowman and Deal, as well as Northhouse 2016, the power of information and expertise is when individuals hold specialized knowledge and skill within an arena. This is particularly important in Jacqueline's department because each of the department members are veteran teachers who have been not only teaching for ample years, but have also been part of the culture of Harrison High School for some time. The department members overtly exercise this power over Jacqueline when their opinions about her being a kid are made well known. In addition, the former administrator in the department, it can be assumed, would exercise greater informational power specific to the workings of the upper hierarchy within the school. This may undermine Jacqueline's own position as part of the administrative framework. Additional forms of partisan power evident in the department are reputational and personal power. It can be deduced that Carl Dupree holds both reputation and personal power. Since Carl Dupree was at one time a town mayor and continues to dabble in local politics, he may be an individual with charisma, energy, stamina, and political smarts. All elements which ingratiate others to an individual, providing that individual with referent power and this prior role as mayor may also imbue him with the power to influence others based on his reputation. In addition, the varsity football coach, simply through the respect and importance of that position alone, would also most likely hold reputational power. Ultimately, in the political frame, power is the most important aspect and tool for leaders because conflict is the central dynamic of organizations. Power thus becomes a means of managing conflict. It is therefore essential to understand the conflicts that are present within the Social Studies Department. According to Bowman and Deal 2013, within the political frame, conflict is a natural part of collective interactions. It is normal and inevitable, page 201. Therefore, a leader's role is not to eliminate conflict, but to employ strategies and tactics to effectively redistribute the balance of power in the pursuit of goal attainment. One of the most pressing conflicts within this case study is the underlying conflict between Jacqueline and Carl Dupree. As Bowman and Deal suggest, with limited resources and differing interests, conflict is often a result. The scarce resource that seems to have resulted in the conflict between Carl and Jacqueline is that of position, the title of department chair. Thus, there is a horizontal conflict here. In addition, there may also be a vertical conflict between the school principal and Carl Dupree, since he was passed over despite his seniority. The message this action may have sent is that the vision and direction of the school is in opposition to Carl's own vision or philosophy. This is a vertical conflict, and it may exacerbate the horizontal conflict within the department as a whole. Essentially, the challenge of a leader is to manage this conflict. It is now important to turn our attention to this particular leadership challenge. Jacqueline's approach to leadership within her newly appointed role is ambiguous at best. Her intentions are excellent as she recognizes the potential of the department as a whole through the work of each individual teacher, but she does not seem to have a plan to harness this potential. Examining her leadership through the political lens, what is evident is that she will need to create a four-step action plan to tackle this new position. First, Jacqueline will need to set an agenda. According to Bowman and Deal 2013, setting an agenda consists of a vision which takes into consideration the interests of stakeholders and a plan to achieve this vision, page 209. Jacqueline's first meeting as a newly appointed department chair did not reflect setting the agenda because she presupposed what the needs of the department were without allowing her department colleagues to voice their interests. Ultimately, Jacqueline needs to engage in information gathering about the concerns of her department colleagues. Second, Jacqueline will need to map the political terrain, which entails recognizing channels of communication, identifying those individuals who have influence, and determining a means of mobilizing stakeholders. Jacqueline, prior to applying to the position of department head, recognized that her department colleagues were an eclectic collection of individuals who could be difficult to work with. However, she did not engage with her colleagues enough to understand their interests, influence, and motivations. This is evidenced in the fact that Jacqueline was unaware that Carl Dupree had also applied to the position of department head. After mapping the political terrain, it is essential that Jacqueline develop relationships with her department colleagues, particularly those colleagues who may more strongly oppose her, so that this coalition building will help to facilitate communication and negotiation. Particularly, Jacqueline will need to develop a strong relationship with Carl Dupree as he stands out as a potential opponent simply because he was overlooked for the department head position. Finally, to achieve the goals and vision set out collectively by the stakeholders, Jacqueline will need to engage in bargaining. During the first department meeting, Jacqueline only saw her fellow colleagues' comments as complaints, rather than reframing them and interpreting them as concerns and positions from which the bargaining can begin. Thus, through the political frame, it is evident that Jacqueline must engage in deliberate strategies and tactics that will disperse power effectively to harness the creative potential in conflict.